Imagine pouring your heart into an invention, believing it will change the world only to be told you're not good enough. Imagine being laughed at, rejected by the very company you dreamed of working for. Most people would give up. Most people would quit right there. But one man, a poor, uneducated mechanic's son from Japan, took that rejection and turned it into an empire. This is the story of Soichiro Honda, the rejected engineer who refused to give up. Japan, early 1900s, a country still rebuilding itself, a society where opportunity was scarce, and survival often came before dreams. Born in 1906 in a small village, Soichiro Honda grew up as the son of a blacksmith and a weaver. His childhood was not one of luxury but of grease-stained hands, broken bicycles, and endless curiosity. While other children played with toys, Soichiro played with machines. He would sneak into his father's small workshop and spend hours watching gears turn, wheels spin, and sparks fly. He believed machines were alive, and he wanted to give them a soul. By the time he was a teenager, he was obsessed with automobiles. Japan barely had any cars then, but when one passed through his village, he would chase it for miles, mesmerized by the growl of the engine. Soichiro didn't have a prestigious education. He wasn't from a wealthy family. He didn't even finish school properly. But what he did have was passion, and passion would soon take him on a journey filled with rejection, humiliation, failure, and eventually, glory. As a young man, Honda dreamed of working for Toyota, the rising star of Japan's automotive industry. He poured his energy into designing a piston ring, something that could revolutionize engines. He spent nights in his small workshop, covered in oil and sweat, trying to get the design right. His neighbors mocked him, his teachers told him he was wasting his life, but Honda believed in his dream. Finally, after months of work, he presented his piston ring to Toyota. He was nervous, excited, hopeful, but Toyota rejected him. Brutally, they told him his design wasn't good enough, that he lacked the education and skill to be an engineer. Most people would have stopped there. Most people would have walked away broken, but Honda wasn't most people. Instead of quitting, he went back to school. He studied metallurgy, engineering, and manufacturing. He humbled himself, learned from his mistakes, and redesigned his piston ring again and again until it was accepted. But even when Toyota finally approved it, disaster struck. World War II broke out. His factory was bombed twice. The buildings collapsed into rubble. His machines destroyed. And if that wasn't enough, a massive earthquake leveled what remained. For most men, this would have been the end. Dreams buried under dust and fire. There came a day when Honda stood in the ruins of his factory, smoke still rising from the ashes. His life's work shattered. He had no money, no factory, no hope. He was a man rejected by Toyota, betrayed by fate, beaten down by war, and he asked himself the question we all ask in our darkest moments: is this the end? Should I give up? But then something inside him roared louder than the bombs, stronger than the earthquakes. Soichiro Honda refused to surrender. If his factory was gone, he would build another. If his dream was destroyed, he would dream again. He scavenged gasoline tanks from warplanes and used them as building materials. He recycled whatever scraps he could find to rebuild his machines. He told himself, I may be poor, I may be rejected, I may be broken, but I will never give up. After the war, Japan was devastated. Fuel was scarce, people were poor, and transportation was nearly impossible. Honda looked around and saw a need. He took small engines leftovers from war equipment and attached them to bicycles. Suddenly, ordinary people could ride cheaply and quickly. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't a car empire. But it was a beginning. People laughed at these clunky machines, but they sold, and they sold fast. From this humble beginning came the birth of Honda Motor Company in 1948. Still, the road was far from easy. Larger companies mocked him. Banks refused to lend him money. His early motorcycles were criticized for being too noisy and unreliable. But Honda kept improving. He listened, he adjusted, he innovated. He built better machines, stronger engines, and sleeker designs. By the 1960s, Honda had created a motorcycle that became famous worldwide, the Honda Super Cub. It was affordable, efficient, and reliable. Soon, Honda was not just a Japanese company. It was a global brand, but he didn't stop there. He had always dreamed of cars, and in 1963, Honda released its first automobile. Critics laughed. Competing car companies dismissed him as just a motorcycle maker. But within a few decades, Honda cars became some of the most trusted, reliable, and admired vehicles in the world. The man who was once rejected by Toyota had built a company that would one day compete against Toyota itself. From a poor village boy with dirty hands and no degree, Soichiro Honda rose to become the founder of one of the world's largest automobile empires. The boy who was rejected, bombed, and broken became the man whose name now shines on millions of cars, motorcycles, and engines around the globe. Honda's story is not one of smooth roads or easy victories. It is a story of rejection turned into determination, of rubble turned into factories, of failure turned into triumph. And this is the lesson. Success is not born from comfort. Success is born from rejection, from failure, from the ashes of defeat. When life tells you you're not good enough, you have two choices: believe it or fight back. Soichiro Honda fought back. He never gave up. And because of that, his name is etched into history. So when you face rejection, when your dreams are laughed at, when the world turns its back on you, remember this. Every no brings you closer to your ultimate yes. Thank you for watching. Remember, no matter what happens in life, never give up.